Welcome back to Studio Chatter. Learning to play an instrument could be a challenge, but are there other real benefits for the learner? Let's find out with Mark Boothe from Boothe Music.
Hi, Mark.
Welcome.
Hey,
Hello.
How are you?
This is going to be fun to have you. I want to start off because it used to be Boothe Brothers. If you have lived in Spanish Fork for, longer than 5 years, you probably were very familiar with Boothe Brothers.
Yeah.
Then there was a transition to Boothe Music. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so there's been a couple of things that have been really standard in the Boothe household, and one of them is music. Started with my grandparents, Velma and Wayne, who lived right here in Spanish Fork.
Love those names.
Yep, they're just amazing, and no longer here, but they are a big reason why Boothe Brothers and Boothe Music now exists. Started back in the early 80s. My Uncle Steve. It actually started earlier than that with my Uncle Lou Wolford, some of you know.
Yeah.
But we won't go into that part of the story today. So Steve and his brother Mike ended up kicking off Boothe Brothers Music in 83, 84.
Okay.
Ran it for many, many years. It started originally with Steve having like about one guitar up on the wall and teaching lessons.
Wow.
And then realized I think he could make some money with the retail side, and so started stocking it full of instruments and ran it for many, many years. It was the income for multiple families. And he approached me at whenever that was, 3 years ago or something, about would you like to buy the business? At one point I had told him that if you ever want some money, I might invest in it. And that changed significantly when he said, do you want to buy it? And I love Spanish Fork. We'll never leave. I love music, and so it just made a whole lot of sense. We still got a lot of family running it. My sister's been running the music school portion, cousin that's the general manager, another cousin that does all the HR work,
Okay.
and then a whole bunch of other employees.
You kept everyone all together.
Wow.
Yep. Kind of
So
fun.
we just transitioned to music just because it's a little bit different avenue of the family, maybe,
The brothers are not there anymore.
right? But
Lou
the family
Wolford is still teaching in the basement.
Is he?
Steve Boothe is still teaching in the basement.
I love
one
it.
of our 2 of our 13 teachers, and
Wow.
yeah, the Booths and the Wolfords and the Johnsons are very ingrained in Spanish Fork and in the music world.
Well, and it sounds like you're going to be helping kids all summer long. Not just during the school year, but it was summer transition. What things could they look forward to coming into your store?
So we have 300 plus students that come in every week for lessons, whether that's guitar,
Wow.
drums, piano, voice, and a host of others. And so we are, if you go to boothemusic.com/lessons, you'll see we're kicking off a whole bunch of, there'll be camps and things this summer for kids. That'll be updated over the next couple of weeks, but you can sign up today to get the first info. But there'll be all kinds of camps and opportunities to learn and love music.
Ooh.
I love that. I always roll back to my son took from Boothe Brothers to learn to play the guitar. And there was one of his teachers was just so cool, like found a connection with him and a type of music that he loved to get him to practice, because I think that practicing is what makes you be a better player, apparently. What is your favorite aspect of like teaching the child, or how do they like initially learn to love that and want to do it on their own?
Yeah, I think that a lot of it is just persistence by parents. My parents, we all played. It wasn't a question or an if we wanted to. We each played the piano, and we each played a string instrument. So I played the
They
violin.
let you choose?
Okay. Yeah, I played the violin. My older brother played the bass, and he plays anything he wants. He's one of those. He's the extra talented Boothe.
Okay.
You just give him an instrument and he finds a way to play it.
Wow.
And then younger sister plays the cello and the piano, and we started at 5 a.m. every morning from the time we started piano at 4 or 5, at age 4 or 5, and then every morning we started about
Just
5
take
a.m.
turns and
we had a piano upstairs and downstairs, and the strings would be done in other rooms, and
so before you went to school, like that was just part of it. Get up, practice.
Yep.
See, I needed to be just a meaner mom.
it
Just
had to
make
be.
it happen.
It had to be habitual.
But
Yes.
there is something to that, and you never ever appreciate it until you're older,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I even have a connection to Steve, so I think even in my tween years, I think that he must be a visionary or something. There was a production, or we even had, I think, a traveling group, and I toured with him. There was like a group that we did, or some type of production, and we went over a few states and traveled and did some sort of a production with him. So that was sort of fun.
Wow.
But I do believe that. I think that there has to be persistence, and then you don't ever see it until much later, but learning to read the music and practice, and there's just, I don't know, something grateful many years later, and you're like, thanks, Mom and Dad.
And I think you're right. I think that so often, I'd love to tell you that my kids just sit down and practice every day. They don't.
Okay,
like
good.
it's oftentimes a fight, but I'm grateful that my mom somehow kept us going.
Totally.
It probably really paid off when I was in Mexico on a mission about 300 years ago, when all of a sudden I was the person who could play the piano. Of all of these people out in the congregation, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, I guess that was worth practicing 5 in the morning. And so I'm sure grateful, but I wasn't always very grateful when I had to wake up at 5 in the morning to
Right,
practice.
and now my son-in-law is 31, and he wants to learn to play the piano. He was never given the opportunity. My girls did, and they had to be able to play a hymn at church, and then they could give up, the lessons. But now I gave him my piano, so now he's looking for someone to teach him. So.
I know a place.
You do?
I know a place, yeah.
Yep. So what are some of the benefits of children learning music or playing music?
I think there's multiple. One being just confidence. You can get that confidence as a child in a lot of ways, but music is a really great way. We just finished going to a performance last week of my daughter, who sang through most of High School Musical, and to see her on a stage feeling like, hey, I'm confident enough to do hard things, was a big deal. I think that, as your PBS stat will say, the brain works a little bit different. I think I'm able to pick up on things. I think that there's certain things with numbers that probably work better because you're used to counting the way that you have to count in music. So I think there's just countless blessings and benefits of learning to play musical instruments.
No, I was always told, well, maybe my mom just told me this, but I would be a better reader and a mathematician if I would play the piano. I don't know, but that's what she told me. But maybe there's something to do that. The reading of the music, the coordination skills, I don't know.
I do believe there's correlations. I think that there probably have been studies with that also, that there's something with math and memory and the music and like you've said, with counting. I remember even with metronomes and then being able to, speed things up a little bit,
and
being
maybe
able
it's
to
just
play.
the persistence and like the repetitive habits, and maybe that transitions over into school. I don't know.
All I know is mothers are very rarely ever wrong, so that was a good choice.
It was.
a good
Isn't
choice.
that the truth?
Well, and the music just soothes the soul, right? There's just something that takes away some of the anxieties, and I feel like our world is kind of filled with that. Have you noticed that with kids just needing a place to get away and to
Yes, and yes. And I think it's so great for building relationships also. I know when I'm forcing the practice for lessons also, even when it's that dedicated time to practice lessons, I also believe building relationships. I think that when you have, it's even a common language, if you're able to read music or sit down with somebody, whether it's somebody can play the piano and you're able to play the violin with them and you can build something together, or you're making some music together, it's kind of building a different sort of relationship that isn't necessarily with a device, or that's completely different than anything else that they might be, building a different sort of relationship with.
Totally.
So I know we're going to be running out of time. I'm curious to know, you brought some guitars today.
I did. So we sell. If I brought somebody who was really talented to play this, you all would have been happier. We'll do that next time. We sell probably 700 or so fretted instruments over the past year. So that would be guitars, ukuleles, banjos.
Wow.
That is beautiful.
Beautiful, huh? Made by a group called Paul Reed Smith. We rent probably 400 plus band or orchestra instruments a year.
I rented my flute back in the day, yes.
We send instruments literally all over. We had one district in Los Angeles last year that we sent 1,900 flutes to.
Are you kidding?
So
Wow.
literally all over.
Contacting Boothe Music here in Spanish Fork.
Yep, all over. I mean, we could show you places all over the U.S. where we're shipping instruments out on the regular.
Wow, show us this one. The wood grain on that is so
Beautiful, huh?
beautiful.
So this is made by a group called Luna. These are inlays. These things we had trouble keeping in. They kind of come in and they move really quickly because they're
Gorgeous.
beautiful.
Oh,
Absolutely.
but that's awesome. I'm so happy to know that people are making music and that music is alive and well, and that, it's still all over the place, all styles, right?
Totally.
any style more popular than another right now?
I don't think more popular than another. I mean, we sell thousands and thousands of pieces of sheet music on top of that, which is
Okay.
crazy that people still buy that.
Right?
But thank
I would
you.
think it's
Thank
electronic,
you, everyone.
but no. Okay.
Thousands and thousands every year
Wow.
of whether it's piano methods or Broadway tunes or pop music or whatever else.
okay.
We have a big selection and people come in all the time.
Wow.
Can I just leave with us my biggest regret as a parent? Never buying a piano. I had a keyboard, we got them that far. You can get about a year's worth of lessons, but once you're past that, you need a piano.
Yep.
I wish I would have done it.
My mom gave me hers. I gave it to my oldest daughter. So hopefully that keeps passing on.
It's beautiful for you to be
Yes. Thank
giving
you
this
for taking
Yes.
it on.
to people.
Yep.
Thank you.
And we want you to come back and play.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's more studio chatter coming up.